Good afternoon, everyone. Work is not just a place we go to earn a paycheck. It's where we spend a third of our lives. It shapes our sense of purpose, our relationships, and even our mental health. Yet for too many, work has become synonymous with stress, conflict, and burnout. That's not just unfortunate, it's unacceptable. End quote. Toxic work cultures don't just happen by accident, they're created. They're created by what we tolerate, by what we reward, and by what we choose to ignore. Leadership is not defined by the title on your business card or the corner office you sit in. It's about the impact you have on the people around you. A common misconception about leadership is that it's about wielding authority or enforcing rules. In reality, true leadership is about taking responsibility for the culture, the environment, and the people within it. In any organization, leadership acts as the rudder, steering the course for everyone else. Leadership acts as the rudder, steering the course for everyone else. When leadership sets a tone of inclusivity, respect, and care, that becomes the norm. But when leadership is marked by fear, self-interest, or indifference, those qualities ripple through the team as well. Leadership behaviors are mirrored by the team. If a leader consistently fosters a culture of blame, deflection, or favoritism, these tendencies soon become the unspoken language of the workplace. Employees take cues from their leaders, both consciously and subconsciously. They watch how conflict is handled, how praise is given, and how failure is treated. A leader who takes responsibility for mistakes rather than casting blame shows their team what accountability looks like. On the other hand, a leader who deflects blame or refuses to acknowledge their own missteps sets a precedent that others will emulate. At the core of responsible leadership is the ability to inspire trust. Trust is not something that can be demanded, it has to be earned. It starts with vulnerability, a trait many in leadership shy away from. A leader who can admit, "I don't know the answer to this," or "I need your help to figure this out," creates an environment where collaboration thrives. Vulnerability is not weakness, it's the foundation of authenticity, and authenticity is what builds connection. And responsibility in leadership also means creating a safe environment for others to succeed. Safety doesn't just refer to physical safety, but also emotional and psychological safety. Team members need to know they can voice opinions, admit mistakes, and take risks without fear of retaliation or judgment. A leader must create conditions where constructive dialogue can happen, where diverse perspectives are valued, and where people are encouraged to learn from failures instead of being punished for them. When people feel safe, they're more creative, more engaged, and ultimately more productive. The tone a leader sets extends beyond communication into the very structure and rhythm of work. If a leader glorifies overwork and burnout, it becomes the default mode of operation for the team. If a leader emphasizes balance and prioritizes well-being, employees feel permission to prioritize their health without guilt. Small actions can make a big difference. A leader regularly taking time off sends a powerful message about the importance of rest. A leader actively encouraging team members to use their vacation days does even more. The tone also encompasses how success is defined and rewarded. Some leaders focus exclusively on metrics, numbers hit, deadlines met, projects completed. While these measures are important, they tell only part of the story. A responsible leader ensures that the process of achieving those results aligns with the organization's values. Were those numbers achieved by building trust and collaboration, or through ruthless competition and underhanded tactics? Leadership means setting clear expectations, not just for outcomes, but for the behaviors and attitudes that should accompany those outcomes. Leaders of leaders is about building solid leaders. And this is hard work, and it takes time, energy, and focus. Leaders of leaders is another crucial aspect of setting the tone as a leader is how feedback is handled. People need to feel heard, valued, and appreciated, but they also need to know where they stand and how they can grow. Constructive feedback should never come from a place of superiority or impatience. It should come from a place of wanting to help someone reach their potential. Similarly, recognition should be intentional and genuine. A quick, surface-level "good job" feels hollow compared to a thoughtful acknowledgement of someone's effort, creativity, or perseverance. The way a leader gives both feedback and praise shapes how the team does the same among themselves. A key element of responsible leadership is self-awareness. Leaders must constantly examine their own behavior and its impact. How do they respond under stress? What behaviors are they unintentionally normalizing? Are they reinforcing positive dynamics or contributing to negative patterns? It's impossible to guide others effectively without first doing the hard work of understanding oneself. Self-awareness is not a static trait. It's a skill that must be practiced and developed over time, often with the help of honest feedback from others. Leadership also extends to managing energy within a team. If the leader is frazzled, overwhelmed, and reactive, those emotions are likely to spread. Conversely, a leader who remains composed, deliberate, and focused helps to ground the team in moments of chaos. Leaders must remember that their behavior in challenging times sets the example for how others should navigate similar situations. Every choice a leader makes, no matter how small, sends a signal to their team. A leader's responsibility does not stop at the boundaries of their immediate team. It includes how they influence the broader culture of the organization. Leadership is about creating ripples, shaping how teams interact with one another, how departments collaborate, and ultimately, how the organization as a whole operates. Trust is the foundation of any healthy relationship, and the workplace is no exception. It is the invisible thread that holds teams together and allows people to thrive, innovate, and collaborate without fear. Yet trust is fragile, easily broken by inconsistency, secrecy, or insincerity. Building trust requires effort, intention, and most importantly, consistency over time. Leaders and team members alike must recognize that trust is not built in a single moment or grand gesture. It is cultivated through 1,000 small actions that show integrity, reliability, and care. Consistency is the cornerstone of trust. People need to feel that what you say aligns with what you do. If leaders preach transparency but make decisions behind closed doors, trust erodes. If they emphasize collaboration but play favorites, the disconnect becomes glaring. Consistency is about showing up with the same level of integrity every day, even when it's inconvenient. It's about making sure your words, actions, and decisions align not just when it's easy, but especially when it's hard. Inconsistent behavior, even if unintentional, creates uncertainty, and uncertainty is the enemy of trust. Transparency plays a critical role in building trust. People want to feel informed, included, and respected, and withholding information fosters suspicion and disengagement. While not every detail of an organization's strategy or challenges can be shared with every employee, a culture of openness should be the default. It's not about oversharing, it's about being honest about what you know, admitting what you don't, and providing as much context as possible. When leaders admit uncertainty or share difficult truths, it may feel uncomfortable, but it reinforces the idea that employees are partners, not just resources. Empathy is another essential component of trust. Without empathy, relationships in the workplace become purely transactional. Empathy means truly listening when someone speaks, seeking to understand their perspective, and showing that you care about their experiences, not just their output. It's a leader noticing when a team member seems off and taking the time to ask, "Is everything okay?" It's a colleague pausing to offer help when they see someone struggling. Empathy turns everyday interactions into moments of connection, and connection strengthens trust. Trust also thrives in an environment where people feel safe. Psychological safety, the belief that you can take risks, make mistakes, or voice concerns without fear of punishment or humiliation, is the bedrock of trust in any team. When people feel safe, they're more likely to bring their full selves to work, share ideas, and challenge the status quo. A lack of psychological safety, on the other hand, stifles creativity and engagement. Leaders have a responsibility to create and protect this safety by actively discouraging gossip, addressing conflicts constructively, and making it clear that mistakes are opportunities to learn, not grounds for blame. To foster trust, actions often speak louder than words. Consistent follow-through on commitments builds confidence, while even small instances of unreliability chip away at trust. If a leader promises to support a project, but is consistently unavailable when the team needs guidance, their actions undermine their credibility. If a team member commits to completing a task but repeatedly misses deadlines without explanation, their dependability comes into question. Trust grows when people consistently show up, meet expectations, and own up to their missteps when they fall short. Acknowledgement and recognition are also vital to building trust. When people's efforts go unnoticed, it sends the message that their work, and by extension their presence, doesn't matter. Recognizing accomplishments, celebrating successes, and expressing gratitude are simple yet powerful ways to let people know they are valued. Trust is reinforced when people feel seen and appreciated, not just for what they do, but for who they are. Accountability strengthens trust as well. In a culture of trust, accountability isn't about pointing fingers or assigning blame. It's about taking responsibility. This applies to leaders and employees alike. A leader who acknowledges their own mistakes and actively works to address them models accountability for the entire team. Similarly, a team that holds each other accountable for delivering on promises and maintaining standards demonstrates mutual respect and reliability. Accountability creates a sense of fairness, which is essential for building trust. Building trust also requires patience. Unlike goals or deadlines, trust isn't something you can rush or quantify. It takes time to prove reliability and authenticity, and even longer to repair trust when it's been broken. Rebuilding trust after a breach requires humility, transparency, and a willingness to have difficult conversations. Avoiding the issue or hoping time will heal wounds only deepens the divide. Trust demands fairness. People need to know they will be treated with equity, no matter their role, background, or position in the organization. Favoritism or bias destroys trust and creates resentment, while fairness creates unity. It is the leader's responsibility to ensure that opportunities, recognition, and consequences are distributed equitably. Fairness shows people that the system isn't rigged against them, which is critical for fostering a sense of security and trust. Communication is the lifeblood of any organization. It is how ideas are shared, problems are solved, and relationships are built. Yet in many workplaces, communication becomes a source of tension, mistrust, and inefficiency. A culture of poor communication can lead to misunderstandings, conflicts, and ultimately a breakdown in trust. To create an environment where people thrive, communication must be treated as a tool for connection, not a weapon for blame or control. When communication is clear, open, and respectful, it becomes the foundation for collaboration and success. Effective communication starts with listening. It sounds simple, but it's one of the hardest skills to practice consistently. Too often, people listen to respond rather than listen to understand. They're formulating their next point while the other person is still speaking, or they dismiss what's being said because it doesn't align with their perspective. True listening requires full attention, patience, and a willingness to set aside one's own agenda. It's about making the other person feel heard and valued, which strengthens trust and reduces misunderstandings. When team members and leaders actively listen, they create a space where open dialogue can flourish. And transparency is another cornerstone of effective communication. In many organizations, information is hoarded rather than shared, creating silos and breeding suspicion. People want to understand the why behind decisions, not just the what and how. When leaders are transparent, they show respect for their team's intelligence and contributions. Transparency is not about overwhelming people with details or sharing everything. It's about providing the context needed to align everyone with a shared vision. When people have the information they need, they can make better decisions, take ownership of their roles, and feel more connected to the organization's purpose. Clarity in communication is essential. Miscommunication is one of the most common sources of frustration in the workplace, and it often stems from a lack of clarity. Vague instructions, ambiguous goals, or unclear expectations leave people feeling uncertain and demotivated. Clarity means being specific about what is needed, why it matters, and what success looks like. It's not just about being direct. It's about being thoughtful. Clear communication minimizes confusion and ensures that everyone is working toward the same objective. Nonverbal communication plays a significant role as well. Body language, facial expressions, tone of voice, all of these factors can either reinforce or contradict the words being spoken. A leader may say they are open to feedback, but if their arms are crossed and their expression is stern, the message gets lost. Similarly, a team member might say everything is fine, but their slouched posture and downcast gaze tell a different story. Paying attention to nonverbal cues allows people to better understand the emotions and intentions behind the words, fostering deeper connections and reducing the likelihood of misinterpretation. Respect is an integral part of communication. Disrespectful language, interrupting, or dismissing someone's ideas undermines not just the conversation, but the relationship itself. When respect is absent, people become defensive or shut down, and communication breaks down entirely. Respectful communication is about treating others as equals, regardless of their role or position, and recognizing that every voice has value. It's about acknowledging differences in perspective and being willing to find common ground. Conflict is inevitable in any organization, but the way it is communicated can determine whether it leads to resolution or escalation. Avoiding difficult conversations may feel easier in the short term, but it allows tensions to fester and grow. Productive communication involves addressing conflicts directly and constructively. This means focusing on the issue at hand rather than attacking the person, seeking to understand the other perspective and working collaboratively toward a solution. When handled effectively, conflict can become an opportunity for growth and learning. Feedback is one of the most important forms of communication in the workplace, yet it is often mishandled. Too much emphasis is placed on criticism without enough attention to positive reinforcement, which can leave people feeling undervalued and demoralized. Constructive feedback should be specific, actionable, and delivered with empathy. It should aim to support growth rather than highlight flaws. And equally important is recognizing and celebrating achievements. People need to know that their efforts are seen and appreciated, and praise should be given as thoughtfully as constructive criticism. Cultural sensitivity is another important aspect of communication in today's diverse workplaces. Different cultures have different communication styles, and what feels natural to one person may seem rude or confusing to another. Being aware of and adaptable to these differences shows respect and helps build stronger relationships. This includes understanding not just linguistic differences, but also variations in how people express emotions, handle conflict, or interpret hierarchy. Trust is deeply tied to communication. When communication is open, honest, and respectful, it strengthens trust. Conversely, when people feel they're being misled, dismissed, or kept in the dark, trust erodes. It's important to follow through on promises and commitments made during conversations, as failing to do so undermines credibility. A strong culture of communication builds trust over time, making it easier for teams to navigate challenges and uncertainties together. Great communication in the workplace doesn't happen by chance. It requires intentional effort and continuous improvement. Organizations that prioritize communication create environments where people feel valued, understood, and empowered to contribute fully. Values are the foundation of any organization, shaping its culture and guiding its decisions. They are not just words printed on a wall or included in a mission statement. They are the principles that determine how an organization operates, how people are treated, and what is prioritized. When values are upheld and integrated into daily actions, they create a sense of purpose and alignment. However, when values are sacrificed in pursuit of results, the organization risks becoming a place where integrity, trust, and humanity are eroded. This is why prioritizing values over results is not just the right thing to do, it is essential for creating a sustainable and thriving workplace. The relentless focus on results, while seemingly logical, often leads to unintended consequences. It encourages behaviors that prioritize short-term success at the expense of long-term well-being. People feel pressure to cut corners, suppress their concerns, or compete with their colleagues rather than collaborate. This kind of environment might deliver impressive numbers in the short term, but it comes at a cost. Burnout, high turnover, and a toxic culture where people feel undervalued and disconnected. Prioritizing values over results means recognizing that the how is just as important as the what. It's not just about achieving goals. It's about how those goals are achieved and the impact it has on people along the way. When organizations prioritize values, they create a strong sense of alignment among employees. Everyone understands what matters most, not just in theory, but in practice. This alignment makes decision-making easier because people don't have to second-guess whether their actions are in line with what the organization stands for. They know that integrity, respect, and collaboration are more important than hitting a number at any cost. It empowers people to make ethical decisions even under pressure, because they feel supported by a framework of shared values. Values-driven organizations also create a deeper sense of trust. Employees, customers, and stakeholders all want to know that they are working with people who stand for something beyond profit or performance. When an organization consistently lives out its values, trust builds naturally. Conversely, when actions don't align with stated values, trust is quickly lost. If an organization claims to value teamwork but rewards individual achievement at the expense of collaboration, its credibility is damaged. Living by values requires consistency, even when it's inconvenient or costly. One of the most profound effects of prioritizing values is the impact on the people within the organization. When employees see that their well-being, growth, and dignity are genuinely prioritized, they feel a stronger sense of loyalty and engagement. They are not just workers fulfilling tasks, they are individuals whose humanity is recognized and respected. This kind of culture fosters innovation, creativity, and a willingness to go the extra mile, not out of obligation, but out of a genuine desire to contribute to something meaningful. Values also guide organizations through difficult times. In moments of crisis or uncertainty, it's tempting to abandon principles in favor of quick fixes or expedient solutions. However, those are the moments when values are most important. They provide a moral compass, ensuring that decisions are made with integrity and fairness. A values-driven approach ensures that even when compromises are necessary, they are made in a way that aligns with the organization's core principles. This consistency builds resilience and helps organizations emerge stronger from challenges. Leaders play a crucial role in demonstrating the importance of values. If leaders prioritize values over results, their teams will follow suit. However, if leaders emphasize metrics and outcomes without regard for how they are achieved, that message quickly spreads throughout the organization. Leaders must embody the values they espouse, modeling integrity, fairness, and care in their everyday actions. So this isn't just about making speeches or issuing statements, it's about how they interact with their teams, handle setbacks, and make decisions when no one else is watching. It's important to recognize that prioritizing values doesn't mean ignoring results. Results still matter, but the approach to achieving them is different. When values take precedence, results are achieved in a way that strengthens the organization rather than undermining it. The focus shifts from winning at any cost to building sustainable success. This kind of approach leads to outcomes that are not only measurable, but meaningful, creating a legacy of trust, respect, and shared achievement. Values also serve as a unifying force in diverse workplaces. Different people bring different perspectives, experiences, and expectations, which can sometimes create tension. Shared values act as a common ground, reminding everyone of what they have in common and what they are working toward together. They provide a framework for navigating conflicts, making decisions, and ensuring that everyone feels included and respected. This unifying effect is particularly important in a world where workplaces are increasingly global and interconnected. Organizations that prioritize values attract like-minded people. Employees who share those values are more likely to thrive in such an environment, while customers and partners are drawn to organizations they feel align with their own principles. This alignment creates a kind of virtuous cycle where living by values enhances not only internal culture, but also external reputation and impact. Values-driven organizations become places where people want to work, collaborate, and grow. Addressing toxic behaviors in the workplace is one of the most critical responsibilities of leadership. Toxicity, whether subtle or overt, can silently erode trust, morale, and productivity. Left unchecked, it spreads, creating an environment where negativity, fear, and dysfunction become the norm. Addressing toxic behaviors immediately is not just a matter of maintaining professional standards. It is about protecting the people within the organization and ensuring that the workplace remains a space where everyone can thrive. Toxic behaviors often start small, appearing as sarcasm, gossip, favoritism, or passive aggressiveness. These behaviors may initially seem insignificant or easily dismissed, but they send a powerful message about what is tolerated within the organization. When leaders or colleagues ignore these early warning signs, it creates a culture of complicity. The lack of response can embolden those exhibiting toxic behaviors, making it clear that such actions carry no consequences. Over time, what began as minor infractions grows into pervasive issues, damaging relationships and team dynamics. One of the reasons toxic behavior is often ignored is discomfort. Addressing such issues requires confronting uncomfortable truths and engaging in difficult conversations. Many people, including leaders, shy away from these interactions, hoping the problem will resolve itself or fearing backlash. However, avoidance only amplifies the problem. Toxic behaviors thrive in the absence of accountability. Confronting them head-on may be challenging, but it is necessary to prevent further harm and signal that such conduct is unacceptable. Leaders set the standard for behavior in the workplace. If they tolerate or exhibit toxic behaviors themselves, it becomes almost impossible to address the issue within the broader team. Leaders must not only model positive behavior, but also demonstrate zero tolerance for toxicity. This means being vigilant, proactive, and willing to take decisive action when necessary. When you let go of toxic behavior, the later behavior that you see starts fading away and never becomes present. It also means being introspective and examining their own actions to ensure they are not inadvertently contributing to the problem. Leadership requires the humility to acknowledge and address one's own blind spots. When addressing toxic behaviors, clarity and specificity are essential. Vague feedback or generalizations can confuse the issue and leave the individual unsure of what needs to change. It's important to describe the behavior in concrete terms, explain its impact on others, and provide clear expectations for improvement. For example, instead of saying, "Your attitude needs to change," a clear and decisive speech. Clear communication. A more effective approach would be when you interrupt others during meetings, it makes them feel dismissed and undervalued. Moving forward, I expect you to give everyone a chance to contribute without interruptions. Clear communication leaves no room for misinterpretation and sets the foundation for meaningful change. Consistency is another critical factor in addressing toxic behaviors. A one-time intervention may temporarily address the issue, but it is unlikely to lead to lasting change unless followed by consistent reinforcement of expectations. Leaders must follow up regularly, provide ongoing feedback, and ensure that improvements are sustained over time. Inconsistency, on the other hand, undermines credibility and signals to others that the organization is not truly committed to maintaining a positive culture. It's also important to approach these situations with empathy. Toxic behavior often stems from deeper issues such as stress, insecurity, or lack of awareness. While this does not excuse the behavior, understanding its root cause can help in addressing it more effectively. Empathy allows leaders to balance firmness with support, focusing not just on correcting the behavior, but also on helping the individual grow. This might involve offering additional training, providing resources for personal development, or having an honest conversation about the underlying issues driving the behavior. Accountability is key. Without consequences, even the most well-intentioned interventions will fall flat. Accountability does not mean punitive action in every case, but it does mean holding people to a standard and following through when those standards are not met. For minor issues, accountability might involve coaching or mentorship. For more serious or repeated toxic behaviors, it may require formal disciplinary action. Self-disciplinarianism. What matters most is that the response is fair, consistent, and aligned with the organization's values. Equally important is fostering an environment where people feel safe to speak up about toxic behaviors. Fear of retaliation or being dismissed often prevents employees from reporting concerns, allowing issues to persist unchecked. Leaders must create a culture where feedback is welcomed, concerns are taken seriously, and whistleblowers are protected. This includes actively encouraging employees to report toxic behaviors and demonstrating through actions, not just words, that their concerns will be addressed constructively. Education and training can also play a vital role in preventing and addressing toxicity. People often engage in toxic behaviors unintentionally, simply because they lack the tools or awareness to act differently. Providing training on communication, conflict resolution, emotional intelligence, and implicit bias can equip employees with the skills they need to navigate challenges constructively. Regularly revisiting these topics ensures they remain a priority and keeps everyone aligned with the organization's standards. Addressing toxic behaviors is about protecting the integrity of the workplace. Every time a toxic behavior is allowed to go unchecked, it undermines the values and mission of the organization. By confronting these issues directly and with a clear sense of purpose, leaders demonstrate their commitment to creating a culture where respect, trust, and collaboration are non-negotiable. Leadership is the cornerstone of workplace culture, and the behaviors and values exhibited by leaders have a profound ripple effect on the entire organization. The way leaders act sets the tone for what is acceptable, what is prioritized, and how people are treated. Employees look to their leaders for cues on how to navigate challenges, interact with colleagues, and make decisions. When leaders consistently embody positive values, they inspire trust, loyalty, and engagement. Conversely, when leaders fail to lead by example, they undermine the very culture they are trying to build. To the point that leaders of today, authenticity is one of the most critical aspects of leadership. Employees can easily sense when leaders are insincere or disingenuous. Authenticity leaders are not afraid to show their humanity, admit their mistakes, or acknowledge areas where they themselves need to grow. This level of vulnerability fosters a deeper connection with employees and signals that perfection is not the standard. Authenticity is. When leaders are open and genuine, they create an environment where employees feel comfortable being themselves, which fosters creativity and collaboration. Integrity is non-negotiable in effective leadership. Leaders must consistently act in alignment with the organization's values and principles, even when it is inconvenient or comes at a cost. This means making decisions that are ethical, fair, and transparent. Integrity also requires holding oneself accountable to the same standards expected of others. A leader who expects punctuality, for example, must be punctual themselves. When leaders consistently uphold the values they espouse, they earn the respect and trust of their teams. Conversely, when there is a gap between what leaders say and what they do, it breeds cynicism and disillusionment. Empathy is another hallmark of strong leadership. Effective leaders understand that their role is not just about managing tasks or driving results, it is about supporting people. Empathy involves listening to employees, seeking to understand their perspectives, and valuing their experiences. It's about recognizing that behind every role is a human being with unique challenges and aspirations. Leaders who approach their teams with empathy build stronger relationships and create a sense of psychological safety. Employees who feel cared for and understood are more likely to be engaged, motivated, and loyal. Communication is one of the most powerful tools in a leader's arsenal. Clear, consistent, and transparent communication fosters trust and ensures alignment across the organization. Leaders must not only articulate the vision and goals of the organization, but also explain the rationale behind decisions and changes. Equally important is creating a culture where communication flows in both directions. Leadership matters most. Leaders should actively seek feedback, listen to concerns, and encourage open dialogue. This two-way communication not only empowers employees, but also provides leaders with valuable insights to guide their decision-making. So peer-to-peer communication can both expand and contract your network, depending on the situation. Humility is often an overlooked quality in leadership, but it is essential for creating a healthy workplace culture. Humble leaders recognize that they do not have all the answers and are willing to learn from others regardless of their position. They credit their team for successes rather than seeking personal glory and are quick to acknowledge their own mistakes. Humility fosters collaboration and encourages innovation by making it clear that everyone's ideas and contributions are valued. It also sets an example for how employees should interact with one another, promoting a culture of mutual respect and shared accountability. Consistency is vital in leadership. Employees need to know what to expect from their leaders. Inconsistent behavior, unpredictable decision-making, or favoritism creates uncertainty and frustration. Consistency builds trust, because it shows employees that their leaders are reliable and fair. This includes being consistent in upholding values, enforcing standards, and providing support. A consistent leader provides stability, which is especially important during times of change or uncertainty. Leaders must also be change agents within their organizations. Cultivating a positive workplace culture often requires challenging the status quo and addressing ingrained practices that no longer serve the organization. Effective leaders are willing to make bold decisions and initiate difficult conversations to drive meaningful change. They recognize that culture is not static and must evolve to meet the needs of a dynamic workforce. By championing continuous improvement and innovation, leaders set an example that inspires others to embrace change with an open mind. Recognition is a simple yet powerful leadership tool. Leaders who consistently acknowledge and celebrate the efforts and achievements of their teams create a culture of appreciation. This recognition does not always have to be formal or grand. A simple thank you or acknowledgement of a job well done can have a profound impact. When employees feel valued and appreciated, they are more likely to go above and beyond in their roles. Leaders who prioritize recognition also foster a sense of belonging and purpose, which strengthens team cohesion. Perhaps most importantly, effective leaders lead by serving. They understand that leadership is not about wielding power, but about empowering others. This means prioritizing the needs of the team and actively working to remove obstacles that hinder their success. It means investing in the development of employees, providing them with the resources and support they need to grow. A servant leadership mindset creates a culture of collaboration and mutual respect, where the success of the team takes precedence over individual egos. Leadership is not a title or a position, it is a daily practice. The actions and behaviors of leaders shape the culture, influence morale, and set the standard for the entire organization. Every decision, every interaction, and every word has the potential to either strengthen or weaken the workplace environment. Finally, we need to prioritize values over results. Yes, results matter, but how you achieve those results matters more. If you sacrifice your team's well-being, their dignity, or their humanity to hit a target, that's not success. That's failure in disguise. A thriving culture values integrity over shortcuts, collaboration over competition, and people over profits. Fixing a toxic work culture isn't easy. It's uncomfortable, it's messy, and it's slow, but it's worth it. Because when you transform a toxic culture, you don't just change the way people work, you change the way they live. You give them back their energy, their confidence, and their joy. So let's start today. Let's take responsibility for the culture we create. Let's commit to being better, to listening more, and to caring deeply. Because when we fix a toxic work culture, we don't just fix the workplace, we fix lives.